Welcome to the deep dive. If you've ever, found yourself just staring at a screen full of search results and you get that creeping feeling of information fatigue, well, you are exactly where we need you to be. When the internet first kicked off, the big dream was this idea of a global library. Everything organized, cataloged, just pristine, a real palace of knowledge. But that's not quite what we're swimming in today, is it? Our sources paint a picture that's more like a chaotic, vast, noisy marketplace. It really is a deluge. And that means the fundamental challenge has shifted, big time. Our mission today is to really define that shift for you. The problem isn't access anymore. We've got unlimited access. The problem is discernment. So we're diving into how traditional search and these new large language models, LLMs, and kind of the systemic dynamics between them are changing the whole game. We want to show you how you can move from feeling just overwhelmed by all this data to actually gaining meaningful, actionable insights in this new age.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating here is that the central conflict is it's purely cognitive now. For decades, information discovery was, about physically finding the data. Now the barrier is how efficiently and how reliably we can actually make sense of it all. We have to look at how we evolve from just drowning in bits and pieces to achieving genuine clarity. That transition, that's what we're here to break down.
Okay, so let's unpack that core problem first.
Yeah.
The overwhelmed user. Because honestly, this touches everyone. You run a quick search, you open some endless social media feed, you scroll and scroll, and you just feel mentally taxed. The material we looked at makes a really critical point here. The human brain, fundamentally, is just not wired to process this sheer scale of raw, unfiltered information coming at us like a fire hose.
It's a total design mismatch. And here's the kicker. The traditional search ranking systems, the ones that were supposed to be our saviors, right, they ended up introducing massive distortions, not simple clarity. They were designed to surface the best results, supposedly, but how they defined best. Well, that definition turned out to be fatally flawed.
What kind of flaws are we talking about?
Well, think about the incentives baked in. SEO manipulation, for instance. It allowed low-quality, sometimes outright misleading content to game the system and shoot straight to the top of your results.
Why? How'd that happen?
Because the algorithms often prioritized what looked popular or what matched keywords cleverly, not necessarily what was true or valuable or, actually informative. And then you had the algorithms creating those echo chambers we hear so much about, feeding us more of what we already liked or clicked on before. Plus, the entire system basically rewarded sensationalism over substance because, well, clicks drove revenue. More clicks meant more money, regardless of quality.
Ah, right. So we didn't just get noise, we got distorted noise. The system itself was creating this artificial ranking layer that often put corporate interests or just clickbait ahead of genuine quality information.
Exactly. And users, they reached a point. They stopped saying, oh, I just need access to the data. They started basically screaming, I need clarity. I need a break from this constant sifting and sorting.
Yeah.
And it was this massive user pain point, this collective exhaustion that really created the opening for a completely new kind of technology to step in.
And that new player, that's the large language model, the LLM, they arrive with this incredibly appealing, really bold proposition. Why should you, the learner, have to browse dozens of pages, follow link after link, and do all that synthesis work yourself when the AI can just deliver the answer directly?
It's the ultimate efficiency shortcut, isn't it? And it speaks directly to our overloaded brains.
Absolutely. And we're talking about, three major capabilities that really stand out here? Condensing complexity, synthesizing across different domains, and offering conversational filtering.
Those three really define the generational shift, I think. First, condensing complexity, that's huge. An LLM can take, say, a dense 50-page technical paper and just boil it down to the core arguments, maybe 3 bullet points, just the digestible takeaways.
That alone is a massive time saver.
Huge. Then, second, they excel at synthesis. That's the ability to weave together diverse knowledge, connect a concept from history to something in modern physics, maybe, and create a really coherent overview that you wouldn't easily get otherwise.
And I think the third one, the conversational aspect, that might be the real game changer for many people. Instead of trying to guess the exact right keywords for a traditional search engine.
Right. Tweaking your query 20 times.
Exactly. You can just have a dialogue with the model. You can say, no, not that kind of climate policy. I meant the one specifically about coastal defense strategies.
Yeah.
That shift from query tweaking to actual dialogue refinement is it's a huge relief.
Let me give you a concrete example from our sources. Imagine you're trying to compare, say, 2 different international policy approaches, maybe climate adaptation in the Netherlands versus coastal policies in Southeast Asia. Now the old way. You'd be skimming, 10 dense articles, trying to manually pull out the key differences, maybe draw your own comparison chart.
Yeah, it sounds exhausting just thinking about it.
Right. But with an LLM, you could just ask, give me a comparative summary of their funding structures and the main political obstacles they face, and boom, the whole experience shifts fundamentally. You're no longer the busy, slightly frustrated librarian hunting through the shelves. You're more like the principal researcher getting tailored reports from a tireless assistant. You move from actively searching for scattered bits of information to essentially passively receiving insights that have supposedly already been vetted and synthesized for you.
That level of efficiency is,
Yeah.
well, it's incredibly seductive. But, as we've learned time and time again, there's almost always a catch. So what's the necessary warning here? What's the price we might pay for this immediate synthesized answer?
Well, the price involves trust, transparency, and potentially the very source material that feeds these models. Let's start with the most talked about risk, hallucination.
Ah, yes, the AI making things up.
Exactly. And it's not just that the AI makes simple mistakes. It's that the model can confidently and very plausibly fabricate facts, figures, even sources that just do not exist. So, for instance, you might ask an LLM about a really specific niche legal case. It might give you back a perfectly formatted citation and a summary for a case that never actually happened. It's polished falsehood.
Wow. That is genuinely terrifying because the whole appeal of the shortcut is built on trusting the output, right? If that output is a convincing lie, you haven't saved time at all. You've potentially introduced a fundamental error into your understanding.
Precisely. And that links directly to the second major issue, the loss of source attribution.
Yeah.
When the LLM weaves together information from multiple places, those original links, the footnotes basically, they often just disappear into the synthesis.
So you don't know where the information actually came from.
Often, no. You don't know which fact came from which specific publisher, which research paper, which expert. And this is a massive blow to transparency. I mean, how can you possibly verify something if you don't even know its origin?
You can't really.
And there's more. If these models aren't constantly connected to the live updating web, and many aren't, or have delays they suffer from static knowledge, they might miss breaking news or the very latest scientific research that was just published last week.
Okay, so let me get this straight. We've potentially traded the old problem of disorganized, overwhelming noise for a potential new problem of polished, articulate, synthesized falsehoods that lack clear sourcing and might be out of date. That feels like a deeply concerning trade-off, especially for anyone trying to learn seriously or make informed decisions.
It absolutely is. And it connects directly to this massive systemic danger that looms behind it all. Think about this. If users rely entirely on the summary the LLM gives them, if they use the AI interface as the final stop and never click through to the actual source material.
Which is tempting, given the convenience.
Incredibly tempting. But if that happens on a large scale, then the entire economic model that funds high-quality content creation, journalism, research, expert analysis, that model starts to crumble.
Now, hold on. Isn't that a bit dramatic? I mean, publishers have adapted before, right? Radio, television, the early internet, social media. Why is this different? Are we really talking about the potential collapse of the publishing world here?
I think this is fundamentally different because previous technologies, even social media, largely drove traffic to the publisher. They acted as distribution channels, sending eyeballs to the original source.
Okay, I see.
LLMs, however, are increasingly positioning themselves not as channels, but as replacement destinations. If you get a complete, satisfying answer directly from the AI without ever clicking the link to the original article or study, then the publishers, the journalists, the researchers, the very engines producing that high-quality knowledge, they lose the advertising revenue, the subscription triggers, the incentives they absolutely need to operate.
So the AI is essentially consuming the value without passing it back to the creators.
In the current setup, largely yes. And the system starts to feed on itself in a destructive way. The LLMs, remember, are trained on that vast corpus of high-quality, verified content produced by humans. If we starve those creators by cutting off their revenue streams, we eventually pollute the well that the AI itself drinks from. We risk undermining the very source material that makes the LLM useful and valuable in the first place.
Wow. Okay, that completely flips the problem on its head.
Yeah.
It means the solution. It just cannot be replacement. It has to be about true functional integration.
Yeah.
We need, as you said, the best of both worlds. So how do we actually move towards that? What do our sources suggest for building what they call hybrid discovery?
Right, hybrid discovery. It requires a system where the different parts actually enhance each other rather than cannibalizing each other. The sustainable model, as we see it emerging, really needs three key elements working together in tandem. First, you absolutely need traditional search engines' capability for real-time coverage of the live web. They are still the best indexers, the connection to current events, the sort of baseline fact-checkers against the live internet.
Okay, so search keeps it grounded in reality.
Exactly. Second, you need the LLM's incredible power of synthesis and contextualization. They take that raw, real-time data from search and transform it into structured insight, making sense of the patterns. And third, and this is absolutely crucial, we need new monetization models. The old ad-click model is clearly broken in this new context.
What might those look like?
Well, we need models that explicitly reward the original content creators when their data is used for synthesis by an AI. This could mean things like licensed data streams, where AI platforms pay publishers directly for access to their content for training and for generating specific summaries. Or perhaps something like micropayments, maybe using tokens attached to verified answers. So every time an AI uses a piece of knowledge from a verified source to answer your query, the original creator gets compensated.
So building a system where value flows back to the source.
Precisely. It has to be symbiotic, not parasitic.
And if we get this right, what does that integrated system actually feel like? What's the implication for how information moves and how we interact with it?
Well, the implication is pretty powerful. In this ideal hybrid system, search grounds the AI in verifiable facts and up-to-the-minute information from the real world. And in return, the AI transforms search. It moves it beyond just an overwhelming list of blue links into something more like a hyper-personalized, context-aware guide. It understands your intent better, the end result for you, the user. Dramatically reduce cognitive burden, less weighting, more understanding, and hopefully higher accuracy overall, because that AI's synthesis is anchored by searchable, verifiable facts.
Okay, that landscape sounds much more promising, like one where a learner can actually thrive, not just survive. But for our listener right now, today, still navigating the current, often chaotic reality, what are the practical, actionable strategies? Give us that learner's checklist for dealing with AI-powered information effectively.
Absolutely. Number one, first and foremost, intentional verification through triangulation. This is non-negotiable. When an AI gives you a synthesized answer, especially one that seems surprising or particularly neat, don't just take it at face value. Triangulation means you actively cross-check that key insight against at least two other trusted, ideally non-AI generated sources.
So old-fashioned research skills, basically.
Kind of, yeah. Did the AI provide source links? Click them. Do those actual sources support the conclusion the AI drew? You have to do that legwork, especially for important information.
Okay, triangulate. What's next?
Second strategy involves something a bit more under the hood, but it's becoming critical for knowing what information is likely to be processed reliably by AI. Prioritize structured content.
Structured content. What does that mean for the average user?
It relates to something called semantic markup. Basically, it's how websites tag their data so that machines can understand not just the words, but the relationships between pieces of information like this number is a date, this name is a person, this statement is a key finding. High-quality data that's well-organized and semantically marked up is favored by both traditional search and AI systems because it's inherently more machine-readable and easier for the AI to verify and synthesize accurately.
So why should the average learner care about this technical detail?
Because if you're evaluating sources, a site that uses good semantic markup is likely providing data that an AI can interpret more reliably. It acts almost like a signal of quality assurance for the AI age. You can have more confidence that the AI's summary based on that site will be more accurate compared to just a messy wall of text.
Interesting. Okay, so look for well-structured sources. What else?
For anyone creating content writers, researchers, businesses, our sources highlighted a new concept that's already taking hold. LLM search optimization, or LSO.
LSO, like SEO, but for language models.
Exactly. It's the next evolution. LSO means content creators aren't just trying to rank high in the list of links anymore. They're actively designing their material to be easily and accurately machine-readable and synthesizable. They're ensuring key facts, figures, and conclusions are structured in a way that when an LLM is compiling an answer for a user, their validated insights are the ones that get chosen, correctly interpreted, and potentially featured. It's optimization for the AI synthesis layer, not just the old link layer.
Got it. And the final point on the checklist.
The final crucial mindset shift is balance efficiency with depth. Absolutely. Use AI for the initial drafts, for getting quick summaries, for generating overviews. Use it to get your bearings quickly in a new topic.
But
When the stakes are high, when you're making a critical personal decision, a major business strategy call, or forming a serious policy opinion, you must go deeper. You have to consult the original verified sources yourself. Don't let the convenience of the AI shortcut replace your own critical judgment when it truly matters most.
Use the tool, but don't let the tool use you, essentially.
That's a good way to put it. And this is where we kind of zoom out to the bigger picture, the more philosophical implication. This shift we're discussing, it's not just technological, it's profoundly cultural, maybe even cognitive. For centuries, think about it, humans were the primary meaning makers. We were the ones weaving understanding together from disparate fragments of text, observations, conversations, experiences. That synthesis, that connection making, was a core cognitive exercise.
The act of learning itself involved building those connections.
Precisely. Now, with LLMs taking on so much of that synthesis work, that task of creating coherence out of chaos, we face a really critical question. If we increasingly outsource the intellectual labor of connecting the dots, are we potentially risking the atrophy of that vital cognitive agency? Are we perhaps subtly giving up the mental muscle that allows us to critically evaluate raw information and form our own independent conclusions?
That's a heavy question. It gets to the heart of what it means to learn and understand. And this is where it gets really interesting, I think. The ultimate challenge for us as a society is to ensure that these incredibly powerful tools genuinely augment human judgment. We want them to make us smarter, faster researchers, freeing us up to focus on higher-level problem-solving and creativity. We absolutely must avoid unintentionally building systems that simply replace the need for deep critical human thought. The goal has to be prioritizing augmentation over automation when it comes to real understanding and wisdom. And that, I think, brings us toward the end of this particular deep dive. We've journeyed from the feeling of being lost in that chaotic marketplace of the internet, through the promises and perils of AI synthesis, and landed on some essential strategies for navigating this new era of hybrid discovery. The main insight, for me at least, seems crystal clear. We are moving decisively into an era where generating meaning matters far, far more than simply having access to raw data.
Absolutely. And that leaves you, our listener, with this final thought to mull over. The winners of tomorrow, whether individuals, teams, or entire organizations, they won't necessarily be the ones who simply hoard the most data. Instead, the winners will be those who develop the skills to skillfully extract, rigorously verify using things like triangulation, and then confidently act on genuine insights derived from within this noisy, complex, constantly evolving, and increasingly synthesized ecosystem. The future truly belongs to those who master the art and the discipline of discernment.